All right, world. We just lost the last 45 minutes of our webcast. It went into the ether because I got too itchy with my finger. And I wasted multiple gems by Ted. As a matter of fact, the people in the background were all laughing. You heard them all,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, it might have been our best episode yet. And I accidentally hit the wrong button and I erased the last 45 minutes. So we're going to take this like we came out of a commercial and we're just going to keep going because I have to leave.
Isn't it ironic that we need a backup to what we've done? Like,
You know what?
we should back up our.
We should back up our webcast, and it would be great if we had. You know what? Do you know a company who could supply backups?
Nobody comes to mind.
No, nobody comes to my mind either. So on that happy note, what we talked about is we talked about freedom of speech with the NFL trying to kill the Deadspin account. We talked about the top stories on CNN. Number one story was Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Number two story was Lamar Odom found unresponsive. Number three story was Russia and U.S. jets eyeball each other on Tuesday. The reason that was important is because last week I made a prediction that Kardashians would be on the front page of CNN. I was 100%
correct.
Yay! Yay! And even though we're coming back, online, I do have to point out that I was right. And then I pointed out that over on RT, there's 5 stories. None of them are the Kardashians. If there's 1,000 stories on RT Russia Today, I don't think any of them are the Kardashians. Would you say that's probably fair, Ted?
Yes.
Yeah, so we went on and on about freedom of speech, and we even talked about a little bit about the Russian language. So I apologize again to you, the listener, and I especially apologize to Ted Coley, my co-host, for...
And rightly so.
for dumping all of his audio magic.
For mental anguish.
Yes, again, if you are unhappy with us, please contact us at beaconofspeech@gmail.com and make sure that you address all your things to Ted Coley and say that you need to dump that loser Fred and do your own webcast. I also made a prediction. We hate lawyers. I don't want to speak for Ted. I hate lawyers. Do you have an opinion on lawyers?
Like I said, I think we're probably going to need one at some point. So I don't want to.
Yes.
I don't want to slander.
You do not.
All lawyers.
You are being cautious by nature. So what I want to say is I made a prediction October 17th, 2018, which I set to the side. We will be sued within 3 years because we have abused our freedom of speech. So
if we're still on the radio in 3 years, we'll be sued.
Yeah. And if we're not...
So it'll be bittersweet.
Yeah. Or maybe I could just keep it for my private life because I've been sued multiple times. And maybe that could be, will somebody sue Fred in the next 3 years, whether he has a radio show or not? Predictions are probably so. Okay? So we were starting the sports section. We were talking about our 2 sports teams. Columbus is 0-5. They're the worst team in the NHL. Why did we adopt the Blue Jackets? I don't know. I think I'm going to beat my head in the wall. And number 2, why did we adopt Swansea City? Well, it's a moot point because they're at 500. At least we didn't adopt Aston Villa and the villainous Randy Lerner, who's run that franchise into the ground like he ran the Browns into the ground.
Well, at least he's consistent.
Yeah, he points for consistency. Okay, so we were starting to talk, me and you were just saying before I erased the file, all the owners in the 4 major sports, NHL, NBA, and Major League Baseball, and who did I forget? NFL? 4 major sports, doesn't matter. In the 4 major sports, each one of the owners is worth approximately $2.5 billion each. And I leaned over to Ted and I said, when I shut the computer down accidentally, Ted, this list on ESPN magazine is geared towards Joe Fan, you, and Joe Fan me. Okay? Now, the ultimate standings according to ESPN magazine is in my hand. Who do you, Ted Coley, think is the most valuable franchise in the United States or Canada?
Wow.
Again, the 4 major sports, you can pick your poison. I'll make you guess the first, but then I'll tell you the other ones.
The Dallas Cowboys.
Nope. Number 1 is the San Antonio Spurs.
Oh wow! See, I would have never gotten that.
And according to ESPN,
So they're worth the most.
Oh no, not worth the most. They asked
The most valuable. That's what.
Nope. They asked Joe Fan you and Joe Fan me who we thought was the best franchise in the United States, and the fans, not how much they're worth, not the fans said the San Antonio Spurs were the ultimate team in America. And
Okay, I thought you said the most valuable
oh
franchise.
no, I'm sorry. Well, we'll get back to that. Number 1, the Spurs were number 1 in fan relationship, ownership, number 1 players, number 1 in coaching, all this other rigmarole, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it says they've done this before, but I didn't read those other ones, so we're going to talk about that. But again, this is the fans. Now, none of these teams I would have thought would be in the top 10. Number 2, the Memphis Grizzlies. Your nephew lived in Nashville, correct?
He still does, yeah.
Did you ever hear him talk about the Memphis Grizzlies?
No,
No.
he's never
'Cause
said anything.
That's bogus. Number 3 is the Tampa Bay Lightning. My uncle lives in Tampa Bay. He has never talked to me about the Tampa Bay Lightning. I am 100% sure that ESPN is dead wrong on that. Now, granted, maybe the Spurs are, because the Spurs are a good team. They're a dynasty. They cater to the fans. But the Tampa Bay Lightning, I know they're a good hockey team, okay? But they don't give a rat's ass about hockey in Tampa. Well, I'm sure maybe somebody in Tampa will say, oh, yeah, they do. No, they don't, okay? Because if you're a cultural phenomenon, you're able to pull in the average fan and go, oh, we love the Lightning, okay? Number 4 is the Anaheim Ducks. Again, bogus. Any hockey team in LA, bogus. Seattle Seahawks, I can kind of see that. They're successful. Isn't their owner one of the Microsoft guys?
I think so.
Yeah. Number 6, Green Bay Packers. When you think of America's team, you either think of the Packers or the Dallas Cowboys. Number 7, the Oklahoma City Thunder. That does not count. That is bogus. Who are these fans that ESPN is asking?
Another basketball team.
Yeah. Oklahoma City Thunder, they weren't even there 10 years ago. It should say Seattle Supersonics, and it should be down to 110. Number 8, the Pittsburgh Pirates. That is bogus. The Pirates aren't even the most popular team in Pittsburgh. They're not as popular as the Penguins. They're not as popular as the Steelers. They're high on crack. They just are. The Pirates were bad for 30 years, and then they have 2 good seasons, and all of a sudden they're number 8 in sports. I swear to God, I can make up a list, and I can just write gibberish, and then put Fred's top 122 sports franchises, and I could write a better list than this.
These are the fans.
These are the fans. This is what the fans say. Does this go back to the mentality the fans are idiots?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Number 9 is the Arizona Diamondbacks. And number 10 is the Dallas Star. Dallas, God damn it. This list is totally bogus.
I don't even know, what is that, hockey?
Yeah. Again, I understand. Let's go through this list. I understand number 1. That's probably fair. San Antonio has been the gold standard in the NBA. Everybody wants to do it the San Antonio way, supposedly. Yeah. Okay? 2 is bogus. 3 is bogus. 4 is bogus. 7 is bogus. 8 is bogus. 9, I don't know. Whenever I think of Arizona Diamondbacks, I think of Randy Johnson. And I'm like, well, I don't know. But
when I think of the Diamondbacks, I think of Randy Johnson and Who was the other guy?
Kurt Schilling.
Schilling.
Yeah, so I don't know because I don't know enough about the Diamondbacks. But number 10 is the Dallas Stars. Dallas Stars are not even as popular as the Texas Rangers. They're not as popular as the Dallas Cowboys, correct? The people at ESPN, I don't know how they ran their poll, but this is 110% wrong. Now, they could say the fans spoke, but apparently their measuring apparatus was just wrong. So I'm looking down here, and I'm going down here, and I'm looking for Cleveland teams because we're in Cleveland. Do you think there's any Cleveland teams in the top 20?
No.
Top 30?
No.
Here's our first Cleveland team, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Well, it says they jumped from 101st place last year to 34th place this year.
Wow.
Because of LeBron James. Now, do you really think, other than getting LeBron James back, that the Cleveland Cavaliers have done anything different in the last year as a franchise? No. Again, bogus. Bunch of crack addicts at ESPN. That's why I wonder how they measure these things. So I'm scrolling down. We're going down into the 30s. I think 122 is our bottom number. So we're scrolling. Oh, that's too far. I was looking at the Oakland Raiders, and now I gotta hide this from Ted, okay? But we're going down towards the 40s. We're going towards the 50s. Okay, still no Cleveland teams. Okay, there's 2 other Cleveland teams to go. Okay, past the 50s, down to 60s. The 61st, which is almost square in the middle, which is an average team, is the Cleveland Indians.
Wow.
So basically, they're right smack in the middle, and I think this year they went 81 and 81, or 82 and 80, or something like that.
Yeah, it was 80 and 81, or 81 and 80.
And even though they don't have a bunch of revenue streams, the fans don't come around because we traded 3 Cy Young Award winners in the last 15 years. CeCe Sabathia, Cliff Lee, and Bartolo Colon. And we got Kluber. Hopefully we don't trade him. And but we keep hearing. I hear on the radio every single day of the year. We're a small market team, and we don't have the revenue streams that other big. But of course, there's other franchises that don't have revenue streams, but they're run into the ground. So Cleveland Indians at 61 sounds about right, to be honest with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right after the Cleveland Indians, number 62 is the Buffalo Sabres. It says, looking for a cheap date, Friday night entertainment. The Sabres are your best bet, blah, blah, blah. They might not win many games. They were horrible last year. So apparently they got bumped up. Even though they were horrible, it was affordable. Well, that's great. That's exactly what you want at a hockey game, is good popcorn. And the only reason I bring this up, because I saw this right by it, is I like the Lake Erie Monsters, right? I'm a fan of the Lake Erie Monsters. I'm one of 4 or 5 hardcore fans. But when you go to Lake Erie Monsters game, it's not about Lake Erie Monsters. It's all about the fan experience. If I hear about the fan experience one more time, it doesn't matter that they suck. They never make the playoffs. They're never any good. Usually they're scrappy underachievers. But it's like, again, bogus. Okay, I'm going down the list. Oh, look, number 74 is the New Jersey Devils. We both know somebody who loves the New Jersey Devils. Yeah. Well, guess what? Their franchise sucks. They're in the toilet. People who like New Jersey Devils, there's nobody who likes them. People who like the New Jersey Devils, they're a bunch of goddamn followers. Okay? So we're scrolling down into the hundreds. 105, the Oakland Raiders. Oh, look, way down here at number 1. Don't look at last, because that's going to be our thing. Number 109 is the Cleveland Browns out of 122. Can you believe that?
So 122 is all the teams, right?
All 4 major sports leagues. And we are all the way down, the Cleveland Browns at 109.
Wow, out of 122.
I'm actually surprised we're not lower, because they suck. Again, Randy Lerner, we were talking about him. He took Aston Villa. and plunged them into the toilet after he came and plunged us into the toilet. I'm going to guess for the last 10 years, Cleveland Browns have not ranked much above 100th. Okay? Now, again, we keep going down, blah, blah, blah. We get down to the bottom 5. Number 5, 118, the 5th worst, is the Philadelphia Phillies. 5 years ago, they were ranked 17th and then 24th.
Yeah, because didn't they win the World Series?
Yeah. They were ranked 17th, then 24th, then 49th, and in the last 5 years, they dropped all the way down to 118 this year, which shows how angry their fans are and how they overpay. The prices are too high. They overpaid a bunch of stiffs. Wah, wah, wah. Number 19 is the Denver Nuggets. I don't know why. Number 120 is the Washington Redskins. That's predictable. They're horrible. They don't know who their quarterback is. Their owner's an idiot. They won't change their mascot. But, Ted, I'm throwing this back across to you. If you were the owner of the Washington Redskins, would you keep the mascot?
Yeah.
Guess what? I would too. People hate the Redskins because they keep the mascot. It's their right. They can keep the mascot. They're like, it's offensive. Offensive to who? They.
If it's so offensive, why did it take so many decades for people to figure it out?
Yeah, and also
because I don't know. I don't know how long the Redskins have been around. I assume for at least 50 years or so.
Yeah.
And do you remember hearing this like even 30 years ago?
No. For about 15 or 20 years, there's one or two people in front of Cleveland Indians games, and they say, offensive mascot, please change the name, okay? It's one of my biggest pet peeves in life is mascot names, because, now, Ted, I don't know your genealogy very well, but what is Coley? What the hell is a Coley? Is that an English name? Is that a German name?
That is Slovak.
Slovak, okay. I know my last name is Hunt, but apparently there's a little bit of Irish in me, okay? Last time I checked, there's a Fighting Irish, okay? Doesn't that imply fighting?
Yeah.
The Boston Celtics, have you ever seen the cartoon character that they have? This? It's a goofy-looking Italian, or not Italian, I'm sorry, Irish guy, who looks like he's been drinking too much in a field of shamrocks, okay?
It makes me laugh.
Yeah, so all this stuff about Indians, they're like, well, the Indians don't like it. You know, let's put this up to a vote. Let's get not one or two rabble rousers or publicity seekers. Why don't you put it up to a vote in the Sioux Nation or whatever? Should we change the mascots? You know, we're America, we're a democracy. Do you want us to change it? Do an online thing and only Indians can vote. And you can change it. I honestly don't think that Indians care. Just like I don't give a crap about the Fighting Irish, okay? I like college football, but I like Ohio State, okay? Well, last time I checked, Buckeyes were poisonous, okay? If you ate a bucket of Buckeyes, you would die, okay? Why don't we ban the Buckeyes mascot?
See, I'm wondering what Slovak would be, like the penny pinching Slovaks or something like that, because I've heard that, like...
Well, it's like a Polish joke. What, isn't a Slovak like a Polish? Because they're right down the street.
Yeah, I think they're very close.
So I think it would be like a Polish joke. Those.
But I'm saying like what the Slovak nationality is known for. I think it might be being like tight.
Yeah. I think that's probably fair. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. Do you want to hear a funny story about Slovakians?
Yeah, sure.
When I was a kid, I was 10 years old, and my best coach, because we were talking about earlier before they got erased. Do you know any lawyers? I don't know any lawyers. You don't know any lawyers. And we're also talking about billionaires. Do you know any owners of sports teams? I don't. You don't, right? Well, we know who they are. Like, I know who Dan Gilbert is, but I don't know Dan Gilbert. I don't call him. He's not my Facebook friend, But I do know a Slovakian. When I was 10 years old, and my mom said, would you like to play soccer? I said, yeah. And my first coach Okay, he was from Czechoslovakia. Okay, so he used to come and he was right off the boat. Now, Czechoslovakia has split up, so I'm unclear whether he'd be from the Czech Republic or if he'd be from Slovakia,
Right.
but it doesn't matter. And he used to tell us these stories in this thick accent. He'd be like, "You kick ball," and I'm like, "You wing, you cross over, you play Brazilian way," and he would talk about European style, South American style, but he would interchange like Czech words in the middle of it, right? And he was an awesome coach. He was the best coach I ever had. Okay, so whenever I think of Slovakian or the Czech Republic, because I don't know exactly what city he was from, I have good memories. He was a really good coach, and when he was coaching me, we were the best team in the league. Not because I was any good. I was like the seventh best kid on the team, but the two best kids on the team were his two kids. And he used to tell us stories. We not have grass in Czech Republic, or I'm sorry, Czechoslovakia. We not have grass in Czechoslovakia. We go in parking lot with bricks and broken glass and soccer ball made out of rolled up socks. You know what I mean? And so I have good memories, but you know, everybody in the world has prejudices, right, Ted?
Hmm.
You have prejudices against people. I don't. I do. You do. Okay. Now, because of that, because of you, and because of Coach Minjarek, right? I have a good feeling about Slovakians. Now, when I was a kid, a couple years older, okay, we played the Serbians. Not that far away. The Serbians are not. Yugoslavia is right down the path, right? I hate those people. I hate those. You say who's the person you're most prejudiced against? I would say the Serbians. Number one, they started World War One, okay,
Yeah.
because they killed Archduke Ferdinand or whatever,
Right.
right? A fed up Serbian killed Archduke Ferdinand. That's a song by Alistona.
Oh, I
And,
thought that's how you remembered it.
oh yeah, because I always think of the Alistona song. It's an old song, um, and because of the jerk from Serbia. Right? When I was a kid, we would play the Serbian team and they would swear at us in Serbian. We played at the Serbian church, right? And then when I played high school soccer, I sucked. Okay, I'm not here to tell you I was any good. I was horrible. It was like me and the only girl on the team were like at the end of the bench. And sometimes they would go to her and sometimes they would go to me because it wasn't co-ed at the time. Okay? So I wasn't very good, but one of the two best kids on the team, he was Serbian, and he was one of the kids I used to play when I was like 12. The parents would swear at us in Serbian. And he told the local newspaper, they said, how's soccer in America different from soccer in Serbia? And he told the local paper, he said, playing in America, I feel like a man amongst boys. Okay? How do you think that went over with the rest of the soccer team who are 16 other American kids?
Very, very gracious.
No, it was the opposite of that. I know you're being sarcastic, but I mean, that kid was a jerk. The Serbian kids were jerks. I never met one Serbian person in my whole life. Because, like I said, the Serbian church, you grew up in Brecksville, right?
I actually grew up in Maple Heights.
Oh, that's right. You started in Maple Heights and went to I always think you were in Brecksville and went to vice versa. The Serbian church is out by Brecksville somewhere. So, but the point is I have a negative connotation of Serbians. And I'm sure this may come up again. And hopefully, where's my sheet? All death threats from Serbians, please send them to Fred at beaconofspeech@gmail.com. Do not send them to Ted. Do you have any problems with Serbians?
No, I really don't know any, so.
Do you want to voluntarily tell us who you have prejudices against?
Wow.
Or if you want to keep it to yourself, you want to save that for a different day?
I'll just keep it to myself.
You'll keep it to yourself. Fair enough. Now, how did we even get off on this? How did we get off on the tangent? Oh, Redskins.
Right.
So the point of the story is, I really don't think most Indians are offended, and if they are, I apologize.
But
But
you said they were at 120. Is that
120.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't care. I there's lots of things in the world that I'm offended by, and I just let it go. I turn the channel, or you know what? If you are an Indian and you're mad, okay, that the name of the Redskins is the Redskins, why don't you root for the Cowboys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, say yay, go, defeat them, and I, I, the red the whole Redskin thing just aggravates me to no end. And I heard the thing, well, why don't you call the team the Caucasians? You know what? If there was a Cleveland Caucasians, I wouldn't want to boycott that. I'd be like, yay, good. Well, I'm rooting for the Caucasians.
But that would be racist if you did that.
Well, yeah, we'd have to wear white hoods, and it's like, yay, Caucasians. If anything, I think, how would you like if it was the Cleveland Caucasians? I think a lot of people would like that more. So I don't want to hear about the Redskins. Okay, we're going to get off of that because I digress. We're going to go to the New York Knicks. They're number 121. That franchise is deplorable. I mean, if you follow sports at all, overpriced, underperform.
So it's actually the New York Knickerbockers, right?
The New York Knickerbockers, correct. They were great in the 70s. And
what the hell is a Knickerbocker? Do you know?
Now, don't quote me on it. I got to hold my leg up, so I know this is horrible for radio. I'm holding my leg up. Aren't they the socks that go from your toes to your knee, and then they're like stripes? Aren't they Knickerbocker socks?
Wow, I don't know.
You know how it's the Boston Red Sox and the Chicago White Sox? I always thought the New York Knickerbockers were a type of socks that you wore. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Because do you know what kind of socks I'm talking about? The tall ones?
I know.
I think every once in a while a golfer will wear them.
But they're striped though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that is what it is.
But I could be wrong, and Knicks fans are yelling. Well, you know what? Shut the hell up. Your team sucks. It doesn't matter.
Maybe Knickerbocker is an offensive thing, but nobody would know.
You know what? That could be true. Like when I was a kid, I rooted for the Ohio State Buckeyes, right? And one of the teams that we would play would be the Illinois Fighting Illini. You're familiar with Illinois.
Yeah.
Now, I'm like, what the hell is an Illini? My whole youth. But I never cared, right? And then I find out later that supposedly the Fighting Illini is an Indian name.
No.
And so I think they changed it. Do you know what the Illinois team name is now? I think they did.
Oh, I have no idea.
We could look that up, but I don't. Number one, I don't care about Illinois football, so I don't care. And number two, if it's offensive, how could I know it's offensive if I don't even know what an Illini is? Do you want to fathom a guess for the worst franchise out of 4 major franchises in North America?
The worst franchise.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'll say the Detroit Lions.
Oh, no. Surprisingly, they're not even in the bottom 20. The Toronto Maple Leafs.
See, I wouldn't have.
And the article says the Maple Leafs are the worst in, well, almost everything. Seriously, last in the NHL in 20 of the 25 fan categories that we measured. Particularly terrible were their scores in the players and affordability categories. Their $113 average ticket price is almost double the NHL's average for a poor team.
Wow.
And Toronto, they used to be awesome, but the last 10 years, 7 years, they're not very good at all. But I would never guess it was the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Where are the Montreal Canadiens?
The Montreal Canadiens. Well, see, now you're going to have to do the music while I go back to Montreal. Because Montreal wasn't. Here they are. Montreal wasn't very good, but in the last couple of years, they've turned it around. And they're up to 54, probably in the last couple of years, because, they started winning games. So. But yeah, so that's what I read, and the rest of the owners' issue was all about money and owners, and I skipped through half of it. But I thought that the franchise ratings was interesting in how horribly bad they did at rating 122 franchises. Like I said, if I wanted to, I could make up my own list. I could rate, my favorite teams, and it would be just as valid. And I could put a paragraph here or a line here. Be like the Portland Trailblazers. I never liked the Trailblazers since they were criminals in the 80s or in the 90s. And it would be just as valid as that dredge I just read. So, but let's get off of sports. The last 2 weeks, I did lists from the top10s.net. I was a contributor there from 2011 through 2015. And again, they went in a different direction, and they said, we're going with staff writers, and we do not want to bring you along. It made me cry. I think very sadly. But they did not choose me, so now I just write for my own amusement. And like we said in the last episode, like Ralph Nader. But I wanted to point out it's not top10s.com that I wrote for. I wrote for top10s.net. And today, I'm just going to antagonize you all day with lists that I read because I feel like all I did was read lists. Okay? And again, the reason I bring it up is because somebody down the hall from me aggravated us at work, at the studio, right? And he is a huge fan of hair metal. Okay? Now, hair metal is one of the most deplorable types of music ever invented besides maybe modern country and rockabilly. Okay? And so this week I was looking at Rolling Stone, RollingStone.com's top 50 hair metal albums of all time. Now, our buddy, who will remain nameless, there is no better thing in the world than
Poison?
Not Poison, but any hair metal,
Yeah.
right? So I printed out the list, and I wanted to be very clear. This will be a fast list. The top 50 hair metal songs of all, or albums of all time. Okay, now, you ready?
It's a shame that there were even 50 albums.
Well, that's my whole point, and that's where we're going to go. Number 50 through number 10, with the exception of 2 asterisks, all were deplorable pieces of garbage. I won't even name them all because I could say garbage 38 times. Hair metal is deplorable. If you like hair metal, turn this off right now. Because I do not want you listening to my webcast. You can listen to the House of Hair with Dee Snider. Okay? Now, we're going to go back to the 2 asterisks. Okay? The 2 asterisks, number 16 is Twisted Sister. I actually like the Stay Hungry album. We're not going to take it and stuff. I own that. Okay?
That's Dee Snider.
Dee Snider. I actually like that one. Number 15 is Quiet Riot, Mental Health. Their 2 biggest hits were covers from Slade.
Come On Feel the Noise?
Yeah. So that shouldn't even count, but it does. So those are my 2 asterisks. So instead of a Fred Hunt top 10s list, we are going to do Rolling Stone's top 10 hair metal albums of all time. Now we just did 10 through 50 in 45 seconds. Number 10, Cinderella. Long, Loud Winter. Is that right? I think I miswrote it. Long, Cold Winter. You know why? Because Cinderella is horrible, deplorable. If you listen to Cinderella, you should go jump off a bridge. We're not advocating suicide. Hopefully you'll live, but your eardrums will pop on contact with the ground. Number 9, Motley Crue, Too Fast for Love. Number 1, Motley Crue is not hair metal. Number 2, Too Fast for Love was not that great. Number 8, Kix, Blow My Fuse, horrible, deplorable. Number 7, Faster Pussycat. The album's Faster Pussycat. Again, jump into a river, don't drown. Hopefully your eardrums pop and you live in a assisted living home for the rest of your life. But there's one song, because my sister owned this album by Faster Pussycat. It's called Babylon. Babylon is a really good song. So we have gone through 4 albums and we have come up with one good song. Okay, number 6, Rat Out of the Cellar. That came out when I was 14. I owned it. So I listened to every one of those songs at least once, top to bottom. That
And
album,
is the group Rat?
yeah, Rat. Round and Round was overplayed. The rest of the album, horrible,
Horrible.
deplorable. Um, do you own any of these albums that I have named?
No.
Okay, number 5, Skid Row. I would. There's actually 2 or 3 songs on the Skid Row album. I would argue that the greatest hair metal album of all time is Skid Row by Skid Row. Okay, and
Is that Sebastian Bach?
Sebastian Bach, and I would argue that there's 3 good songs on that album, and the rest of it is horrible and deplorable.
I remember a long time ago, my friend told me that Sebastian Bach was leaving Skid Row,
Uh-huh.
and that Richard Marx was going to replace him, and it was going to be called Skid Marks.
See, I might listen to that album once. Number 4, Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil. That was actually a great album. Again, Motley Crue is not hair metal. Whoever wrote this article from Rolling Stone, I want him to call me. I will fight him in the parking lot. Number 3, Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet. I was in high school. One of those songs was our prom song. That whole album is horrible, deplorable. Anybody who likes Bon Jovi, they need to hop in the time machine and go back to 1986 and get a life. Number 2.
Anybody who likes that album can eat shit and live.
Yes, exactly.
Not eat shit and die, because we don't.
We do not advocate deaths on our little webcast of Beacon of Speech. We do not want to end up on the wrong side of the law. Again, we were very clear. We are going to try to avoid being sued. Even right now, we're not making any money. We're doing it for the love of the webcast. But we do want to avoid. We want to practice avoiding being sued. This is like avoiding.
Our goal
being
is
sued.
to make enough money just to cover our lawsuit.
Yes, that is our ultimate goal.
We'll be nonprofit.
Yeah. The Guy Down the Hall, number 2, Poison, Look What the Cat Dragged In. Deplorable, horrible, everything by Poison you can just flush down the toilet and put it through the strainer. Worthless to Western civilization.
Now, would you feel this strongly if you never met the guy down the hall?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So that doesn't add to it, does it?
No. The Guy Down the Hall is just a happy aside. Because I lived during the 80s. Honestly, there's a few hair metal songs that I like just because I'm weak. Okay, I'm not a perfect person. A perfect person would hate all hair metal. Okay, but
so if Jesus came back, he would hate hair metal.
Yes, Jesus would 100% hate hair metal. And it's funny that you bring up Jesus, because I was looking at a picture of Jesus this week, and don't let me forget to get to number 1, okay? But Jesus, I was looking at a picture of Jesus, and I was thinking, I'm 45 years old, right? Jesus died when he was like 34. I'm older than Jesus. I have gray in my beard.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, I'm older than Jesus. That's weird. You're older than Jesus.
Oh, yeah, I'm a lot older than Jesus.
Yeah, and it's just amazing to me. Like, you know how we were joking around about before I erased the first part of the show, that what have we done in our lives that we haven't made $2.5 billion? Well, more importantly, what have we done in our lives? Look how much Jesus did by the time he was 34. Mm-hmm. And what are we doing in our 40s? We're doing unpaid webcasts.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, do you think Jesus is upstairs, looking at us going, losers? Or do you think he's
going, losers?
Yeah, loser! Or do you think that he's looking down and saying, you guys got time to turn it around? I think he's doing the first thing, Ted. I don't think he has faith that we're going to turn it around. But anyhow, number 1 hair metal song of all time, according to Rolling Stone. Oh, wow. Do you want to fathom a guess?
Number 1 hair metal song or
Or album. I
Album.
keep saying song, but album. Number
Oh,
one hair metal
man.
album of all time.
I don't know, tell me.
Hysteria by
Oh,
Def
Def
Leppard.
Leppard. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So
you kind of like Def Leppard, don't you?
no.
Not at all.
Again, there's one or two Def Leppard songs that I like a little, but for the most part, I do not like Def Leppard. Their albums are filled with filler, and the one or two songs that I actually do like Rock of Ages, have been so overplayed over the years that I don't want to hear them again. I never want to hear another Def Leppard song as long as I live. So that went a lot faster than the Fred Hunt top 10s on top10s.net. This one from Rolling Stone. Now, again, one of the reasons that I was writing for top 10s is I was arrogant, and I'm like, I could write better lists than this guy or this guy. Well, I'm telling you, I could write a better top 10s hair metal list, even though I hate hair metal. And, you could pick a different Def Leppard album, but I don't think Def Leppard's very good. Now, there's one exception, again. I don't think Motley Crue's hair metal. Do you consider Motley Crue hair metal?
No, I don't think so.
No, I think of them as rock, as in like Guns N' Roses.
But they definitely had the hair.
Oh, they had hair, but so did Guns N' Roses. I don't consider them hair metal.
No,
I think of them as classic rock.
Right.
And, there's a few other bands in the 80s, like Alice Cooper. He was a shock rocker. And there was an Alice Cooper album from the 80s that they said was hair metal. And I'm like, well, I hate to tell you, but Alice Cooper is not hair metal. No, it doesn't matter which album it was. Alice Cooper was a shock rocker. And that's why I'm like, you can say anything you want or twist it around. And so this is my list. I'm sorry, I disavow this list, not my list. This is the list that I wrote or read, but I did not write it. This is from rollingstone.com. See, this list was so horrible. Not only was it horrible, it was wrong, and there is no good hair metal. It should never been written. So I disavow that.
It's wrong on so many levels.
It's wrong on so many levels. Now, again, you love music. I love music. Every week we pick a song of the day. Okay? Now, Ted, you were in the band Wasted Space. Okay? And did you guys ever make any videos for Wasted Space?
No. Somebody recorded part of one of our gigs.
Right.
But that was it.
Now, does that footage exist, like on VHS, or
somebody has it, but it's not me. It's on VHS.
Okay.
But I don't have it.
Okay. Now, I looked it up on YouTube. I didn't look up that. I just look up Wasted Space, and I think there's another Wasted Space that spells it with a Y.
Whoever has the tape probably taped over it or something.
Yeah, just like we just did. We accidentally taped over the first part of the show.
Well, they probably did it on purpose.
There's old episodes of Matlock on there.
They probably taped the Kardashians over.
Yeah, somebody in their basement still using VHS tapes. They're like, oh, we're going to tape over this old Wasted Space episode. Or this old Wasted Space performance. But the song of the day is 40 Ounce on Repeat by a band called Fiddler. Fidlar. And the reason I picked it is because I listened to that song like 10 times this week. It's got a great video. They didn't spend very much money on it. Basically what the band did is they took all the great 90s videos and they made cardboard sets. And then they pretended like they were in like virtual reality by Jamiroquai. But instead of spending $500,000, they took cardboard boxes and they colored them, the color of the set, and then they danced in front of it. And it's one of the most clever videos I've seen in about 5 years. So if you get a chance...
I'm sorry, whenever I hear the word fiddler, I always think of, there's Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah.
And then isn't there Cat on a Hot Tin Roof?
Yeah.
I always combine the two, Fiddler on a Hot Tin Roof. I think that visual would be funny,
Well, thank you for sharing that with us,
I
Ted.
don't know. I just
But so check out 40 ounce on repeat. I'm gonna make you watch. I'm gonna make you watch that. They also have a really good video with Nick Offerman in it called Cocaine. That song's not as good as 40 ounce on repeat, but it, I like that video too. So go check out the band Fiddler. Um, Besides listening to them and watching their videos, I read an article about them in New Noise magazine. So if this was the year, I don't know, 1996, they would be everywhere. But now apparently radio has disdain for anybody new and clever, and all they play is rap or classic rock. Um, Check them out. And I'm looking,
yeah, music does really seem to be dead, doesn't it?
yeah, like rock, good rock music, good punk music. I mean, there's exceptions to every rule. There's a few good rock bands, a few good punk bands, a few good metal bands, a few good indie bands, but it's mostly dead. And it seems like everything is pop or rap.
Yeah.
And hopefully it cycles back around. And every once in a while you'll hear a rock song or an independent song, but hopefully it cycles back around.
Now, I had a question for you. You said you have disdain for modern country.
Yes.
Now, what do you think of, like, I guess what would it be called, classic country?
Yeah,
Like,
classic country's fine. Oak Ridge Boys, Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, outlaw type country. That's fine.
you're okay with that?
Yeah, that's
But the new stuff you're
all that.
repulsed by?
All that new stuff is country pop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I look at them, and all I see is pop music.
Yeah.
Well, I just got done saying I don't like pop music. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you weren't listening. I'm just saying that's all it is. New country is pop. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm like, the roots of country are the same roots as rock and roll. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why old country is fine. Now, granted, I don't like a lot of old country, but I was more of a rock guy. Just like you like classic rock, but you didn't like punk music. You didn't like the Ramones.
I didn't necessarily dislike
Well,
punk,
yeah,
but
when I say that I don't like country, maybe cut off about 1982. Anything after 1982. There's certain lines of demarcation. Just like the hair metal list I read from Rolling Stones or Rolling Stone magazine, almost all those were between 1985 and 1988.
so you basically, there was really no music that you liked in the 80s then.
Oh, well, yeah. In the 80s, I liked Weird Al. Weird Al was awesome. Okay. I liked metal. Don't forget, what people don't realize is that hair metal was around, but Metallica's first album came out in Kill 'Em All came out in 83 or 84. And I was listening to a band called Zebra, okay? And I don't know, are you familiar with Zebra?
Yeah, I think so. I remember that name.
And I remember my friend Brian, okay? He said, Fred, he goes, that's not real metal. You know what you are? You're a big Pussy, okay? He said, you need to be listening to Metallica, okay? And I listened to Metallica, and I went out and bought the album like 2 weeks later. And then, within 6 months, I was listening to Anthrax, because Anthrax came a year or two after.
So this
right?
friend was like a mentor.
He was like a mentor, and then he moved away and never talked to me again. But back in the 80s, I was listening to metal. I did buy that Rat album, so I'm sorry, okay? But I was listening to real rock and roll. Because don't forget, in the 80s, they still had rock albums coming out. And I also liked some punk. 1984 was about the year. Talking Heads. Talking Heads started about the 80s. I love the Ramones. So I like some punk stuff. Again, I like the Dead Kennedys, but I like them after the fact. You know what I mean? I liked them after they had broken up. But I did not listen to hair metal that much because I liked other forms of music. And like I said, there was classic,
But for the most part, did hair hair bands dominate the radio in the 80s? I mean,
They dominated from about 86 to 88.
yeah,
Before that, it was still, we're still playing Pink Floyd.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Ted just pointed at the monitor. They were playing stuff like, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, real rock. You know what I mean? Granted, they're still playing Fleetwood Mac rock, but you know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry, Ted is itching his face like he is done with me. He's done hearing my voice.
I'm itching my face with my middle finger.
Yeah, it's a joke between me and Ted and no one else because my screensaver at work is Putin flipping off the camera at a speech, and every time I turn on my computer at work, it makes me laugh because that's the way I wish it was here. But to tie things up, if you want to contact us, we're a little off our game today, so I apologize. Ted, I apologize for erasing the first part of the show. Live and learn. You can reach us at beaconofspeech@gmail.com. Please watch my movie, which we did not talk about at all. It's at blasphemersthemovie.com. It is free. I'm in it. Ted's in it. Our friends are all in it, and it was a couple grand, and we made an independent film about indoor soccer. And is the acting very good in that?
There's moments.
There's glimmers of good acting. Mostly what it is a great script by Fred Hunt. If you can see through Fred Hunt's poor acting. Feel free to go to top10s.net. I do have articles on that. Feel free to buy my book, American Suicide. My name is Fred Hunt. It's an ebook, so good luck finding that. There's no pictures in it. It's 180 pages describing the downward spiral. Do you want to promote anything?
No.
Is wasted?
I have nothing going on.
Is Wasted Space considering getting back together?
If they are, they're doing it without me.
You know what? I haven't asked you this, but if Wasted Space got back together and they pulled a Van Halen and they said the three of us are getting back together, but we're replacing you with, the bass player's son, would you be like, that's fine, or would you be pissed?
I would probably sue.
On that happy note, we are Beacon of Speech. I thank you very much. Everybody have a great day. Ted, hopefully we get our technical... I
wouldn't want somebody to sully the Wasted Space name. Is that the right word, sully?
That's the right word. We'll see you next week. Hopefully we get our technical difficulties under wraps there.